Welcome to the Meditation Podcast. You can find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. We're also on BitChute and YouTube. You'll find the links in the podcast description. I'm also a podcasting coach because I've got 4 other podcasts. You'll find everything about me and my social media, bio.link /podcaster. Today, my guest is an author, a reiki healer, a Christian mystic. Please welcome Margaret Agard.
Yes. Hi, Ray. Oh, yes. And you said it right. That's right. Europeans usually get it right, but in America, not so much. So Roy, as I said, there's a couple of things I wanted to comment on, and I noticed people really do tune in looking for meditation music. So I wanted to share the music I listen to when I'm doing centering prayer. And I know one of your guests was Rich Lewis talking about centering prayer. So I thought I'll talk a little bit about how that works into my topic, which is how I gave my life to God by giving him my to-do list. So I thought for a minute, I'd just play this. Well, what's interesting about this music, I'm just going to have it play for a couple of seconds here. It's just called relaxing sleep music. Let me stop that. I had an experience once where I was like, oh, I love listening to these near-death experiences, right? And so I listened to a near-death experience where the woman mentioned that there was music in heaven. And I had heard that story years before, but this music was so calming to me. It gave me so much peace that for a few weeks, I not only used it during my centering prayer meditation time, I was also just kept it in my pocket, whatever I was doing, I listened to it. And so I thought, I should look that up. I should look up what that see if I could find that near-death experience, which I did, and then maybe see if I could listen to find that music. And she actually tells this story. Let me see, what was her name? If you look up NDE music of heaven or something, then she actually talks about how she found some music that sounded like in heaven to her. And so she found it in a music store and began to play it. And wouldn't you know, I've actually lost that, but I did save it. And I thought it was interesting to me how similar it sounded to the music that resonated with me. And she said it wasn't like the music in heaven was loud. It was almost like an undercurrent. And it was after she'd been there a while, having her near-death experience, that she actually noticed it. So it was interesting to me that as I did that I was like, oh yeah, I'm hearing that same music. I think it was called Angelic Music by Lasos, Lasos. So if people wanted to look it up. So yeah, that's
just on the free, like with the music, because I've heard, because there's so many different things that have been infiltrated. That music was another one that they changed the frequencies, because I believe music is healing, but it has to be the right one.
It has to be the right one. Right. And I don't really like the chiming things or suddenly birds, because I really go into meditation with this music, helps me. But when all of a sudden something goes bing, I'm like, well, that just took me right out of it. So I tend to go with the ones that are just very subtle, this particular frequency the whole time. And I wonder, is there music in heaven? And if it is, it probably is that kind of frequency, if you think about it, right? That's what we are resonating with. So so centering prayer, I just happened to listen because I have read Rich's book. I have been doing centering or contemplative prayer for about 14 years. And we were talking about, do Christians do it? And I thought, well, actually, I found out about it at a Catholic silent retreat. And then I went to 3 Catholic retreats on how to do centering prayer. And Father Keating has written a whole book on it. A lot of people got involved with centering prayer because of him. And they have a whole centering prayer center in Colorado. So yes, even Catholics. Okay. That was all I was going to do. That's how I found out about it.
And was that your kind of first form of meditation, or was there something prior to that?
I've always prayed, and I had learned in my 20s how to truly recognize God's spirit, to hear that still small voice, and to actually tune into it and begin to have a relationship with God through that. And so, so then I think in my 40s, it was when I started that prayer. What should I do today, God? Because I was so overwhelmed. People in their 40s are overwhelmed, especially if you have children and a career and aging parents. You're overwhelmed, and I was. And that's when I started going to God in prayer and saying, what do I have to do? We really started out, what do I have to do today to make sure everything gets done, and that things aren't important. I don't focus on things that aren't important. And so as far as the meditation, I was, I'd done yoga, and there's all that, like, you lay in dead man's pose or whatever you call it, you sort of meditate, right? Yeah. So I was all into that. But the centering prayer meditation, as Rich explained in his podcast with you, is on a deeper, more profound level. I'm not just paying attention to my breath. I'm allowing the Holy Spirit in and saying, what I consent to whatever you want to show me. My morning prayers are different. My morning prayers are, I'm studying my scriptures, I have questions, I need some insights. What do you want me to do today, God? That's all happening early in the morning. Then in the evening, it's more, this is your time, whatever you have for me. And so that I play that music, and I get in touch with the Holy Spirit. I think anyone who, what other people might call it, but I just call it the Holy Spirit. I just get in touch with the divine and sit with that. And then sometimes I'm given information. Sometimes I just calm down and pay attention to my breath, to the Holy Spirit. So at the end of that, actually, I say the morning is when I spend time with scripture and study and God that way. But actually, when I ask, what do you want me to do? I usually have to do that at night for the next day, because I'm like a lot of people. I'll wake up a couple of times at night. While I'm awake, I'm thinking about what I've got to do the next day. And if I am too committed, then I don't want God to tell me what he wants me to do. I'm like, back off. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm busy today. Okay. So maybe tomorrow I'll have time for you, but not today. And so it's better if I do it at night, because then it's part of my plan. And I like to say what happened to me when I started doing that is that I got more sleep, less stress. And I ended up with this finding my true purpose, because it was a step-by-step process. But even more than that, I've been looking at it and thinking, I actually reread my own book. Like, what did I say? But at the end, I realized it was about love. That, like most people, if people who believe in God, if you say, does God love you? You're like, yep, he loves me, right? But it's all up here in our brain. It's not in our heart. And it's especially not in our deepest heart of hearts. Most of us believe, well, I know he loves other people, but I'm not quite good enough. I'm not there yet, right? That's where we really are with God. But by the end of a year of just turning my life over to God by giving him my daily to-do list, and often he would take out things that weren't important that I thought were, but he often added something that involved taking care of someone else, just making a phone call or dropping by. And I would feel his love for them. And let me tell you, Roy, I live in a place in the country, in the US. So there's two places where people who are struggling financially, who've been through abused backgrounds and are just like not really capable of dealing with life, go. One is the inner city, and the other is the country. And we're not talking horse country. We're not talking hobby farms. We're talking people living in little broken down trailers, stuck out somewhere with half the time their plumbing isn't working. And I could see that they were making some pretty bad choices, like they'd get their check for the month and go out and spend it on, 5 meals at McDonald's instead of utilities. And you think, I would think, okay, I'm sure other people are better than I am. I would think, well, you're in this trouble because of these decisions you keep making. Right? But whenever I went there with God's Spirit, all I felt for them was love. All I felt for them was his love for them. And his recognition that given their backgrounds, it really was hard for them to figure out how to live a good life. And so I say that because after days and days of that, it finally sank in. Oh, I felt that love for me too. So what really came from all this time of doing what I would call Christian meditation, which is meditation with the divine as your companion, is that I used to do good so God would love me. But now I do good because I know how much he loves me, and I want other people to feel that love too.
You think by asking the right questions, you get the right answers? Because some people just wish for something. I wish I was rich. I wish I was this. But by asking the right questions, it's actually, I don't know. Whether you call it source, we're all connected. Are we all gods? Who knows? We've all kind of had our own kind of experiences. But I find ask the right question, you get the right answer.
It's true. I call it specific prayer. In my second book, I said this prayer, and we were working with Spanish people in the Spanish speaking people in an inner city in a southwestern, city near the Mexican border. And I'm very bad at Spanish. And they were more than happy to tell me I was really bad at Spanish. Su español es muy mal. So got it. So but we had people who would come help us. So, and I could kind of talk with people. I could share a little Bible message because I could actually read the Spanish Bible. But when I asked them a question, I had no idea what they said back. And I'd have to say, like, talk to me like I'm two. So I was praying one night. We were there, and the people who were supposed to help hadn't showed up. And so I'm praying like this, please, please have those people go by, see our car, and know we need help. But they never came. And the next day I ran into them, and they said to me, wow, we drove by that house yesterday and we saw your car there, and we thought, wow, they're brave because they really need help. But I didn't say, and please have them come in. So what I got what I prayed for. And I thought, now why would God do that? Let's say like Data or something on Star Trek. But it was more, he wanted me to learn a lesson. I mean, nobody was destroyed because he didn't show up at that point. But he wanted me to learn that I really do need to be specific and be clear about what I'm asking. And sometimes I don't know. Sometimes my prayer is, I don't even know what to ask for now. Help me to know what to ask for. But at times I am just sloppy in my prayers the way I was then.
And do you believe, because you kind of mentioned about kind of because helping others, the self-love coming back. I think that when you're helping people as well, or animals, whatever, we're living in a day now where people are recording it just for the kind of social proof and just try to get likes and become an influencer. But then there's others that just do it because it's the right thing to do. And I think life starts working in mysterious ways for you by actually living that way.
I agree, Roy. I have often been a speaker, and one of my speakings was that you will get your answer to what you're praying for through, often through service. Like, you've prayed for something and you feel as if you should go help someone else, then do it, because you're going to, you're either blessed because of it or by it or through it. So in my first book, I talk about the manure story where my husband, he had a 2,000 square foot greenhouse. He wanted a bunch of manure, and he knew a place to get it. And it would take him like half a day to go get a truckload, a pickup truckload, and bring it back. But he kept having to help people, so he couldn't go. And at some point on your garden, it's past the time. Like, if you don't have the manure on by now, you're not getting it, right? And all of a sudden, out of the blue, and he'd been trying for literally a decade to get, we lived near Yosemite. People might have heard of that. And they have pack animals. And so they do have a lot of manure. But they would never bring it to us. And they said we were too far away. So this one day he's out helping people, and he'd been doing it for a couple of weeks, helping different people. And they called and said they had some manure for us if we wanted it. And I'm like, sure, bring it over. And I'm telling you, this was like 2 tractor trailer loads. I mean, it was a mountain of manure dumped in our front yard, which fortunately we live in the country, so no neighbors were like, what's this? But still, not a lot of people would be happy to come home and find a mountain of manure dumped in their front yard. But my husband was. And so it's like, God will give you the blessing he knows you need and that you want. Yeah. So yes, I think it's not about, I don't even know who puts it up. I mean, I would have to get permission from people. I don't even want to put it up. So it really is between me and God and the person.
And with the 3 books, because you've just released, I believe, the 3rd book. Because
no, it's not out, but I think it's going to be out soon.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, it's coming close.
Okay. It's because I was just looking at the reviews on Amazon, because and there was some beautiful comments based on what people could resonate, and it seems like I think the same kind of thing. Sometimes you pick up the right book at the right time when you need it.
Yes. So they're called the In His Footsteps memoirs. And the first is about giving my to-do list to God. In His footsteps, I gave my to-do list to God. And the second is we actually decided to turn all our time over to God by either selling or giving away everything we had, and then going and serving as missionaries. And missionaries in the sense that we were in inner cities, just helping small congregations. We often went and taught in jails. We were up north of the Arctic Circle in an Inuit village, and we were helping them with their family histories, just things, like people say, what do you do? Well, you just go and do what needs doing. That's what someone said. So that's how our missions were. And we spent 4 years doing that. Yeah. So I wrote a book about that.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. So like with because you've 8 children, I believe, yeah?
Yes, right. I have 8 children, and my husband has 7. It's a second marriage. And the 3rd book is about that marriage. Now, they were never all in the home at the same time. We were older and they were older when we remarried. And so we have 15 between us. So I like to say is, with the grandchildren and the in-laws and the great-grandchildren now, we do 106 birthday cards a year. So so we actually sit down in January and we just address them all. Like, this is ready. Okay. And we just put them in order. Like, I sit right here and say, here's one that's about to go out. And we, we're not the grandparents who give you the expensive gifts. Let's just say that. Okay. We do try to give them experiences. And part of our experiences is to help them do service. We have what we call Grandkids Week. But it only lasts 3 days, because if it was a week, they'd be killing each other. So 3 days is about right. And part of what we do, we have, some water time, but also we always do a service project. And I think that's their favorite part.
To be honest with you, like, loads of people make the mistake of thinking you buy the child an expensive gift. And I cringe when I look at a load of people, because they think they're kind of compensating for not being present with the child and buying all these games or whatever the child wants. And all the child wants is to be with people and do things. And what you're doing with them is what they'll actually remember and appreciate, instead of, you don't need to spend money.
We wanted them to understand that too. We're so way off our topic, but I hope that's okay, Roy.
So of course,
we wanted them to understand that too. And so when they were in their early teens, middle teens, we would take them down to Guatemala to put in stoves and help build houses for people. And I think it was good for them to see how other people live, that they actually were changed as a result of that. And all of a sudden, it was no longer about, do I have the best iPhone? Because they'd just been with people who were living in shacks with dirt floors who cried in gratitude because we built them a little cement stove.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think for a child seeing that as well, they don't no longer, when they see people with problems, they can kind of come from compassion instead of anger and realize that they have a different journey to what they've got.
Yes, that's great, Roy. Yeah. A lot of that has come from, as I said, the way I figured out to give my life to God was to give my day to God, because my day is my life and my to-do list is my day. And that's when I started, my life really changed when I started saying, what do you want me to do today, God? And, and here's my list. Like, I'm got to do the laundry and dropping books at the library. And, I'm on this podcast and like that. Right. So what else do you want me to do? And always, sometimes there were huge projects. Like once it was this woman whose house had burned down and we lived out really in the country and she didn't have insurance. And so it was, I want you to build her a small house. And I was, okay. So that was like a 1.5-year project because I know nothing about that. And we had to raise all the funds and that was fun. And other times it's take someone a cake. So it just, or call someone. And it always makes a difference. And this chocolate cake story is my favorite because it just happened recently. And someone will say, well, you could just think and do this, or if you're just kind to people, right? But here's the difference. I said, what do you want me to do? And I had been thinking about this woman because she was so overwhelmed and she kept helping other people. Husband was in the hospital in a wheelchair. She's trying to go back and forth to the hospital. And at the same time, she's giving people rides to doctor appointments and the grocery store. And I thought, oh, she's an angel. I'm thinking of taking her a dinner. That's what I thought. And it made sense to me. And I have to tell you, Roy, I hate to cook. So if I think about bringing you a dinner, it's out of love because I hate to cook. And so I was thinking I made this really good chicken noodle soup that you could eat at any time. And as I was praying, God said, I do want you to take her something. I want you to take her a chocolate cake. And I said, oh, well, it's that specific, maybe a certain day. I was planning to go on Thursday. He said, no, Thursday's perfect. Take it Thursday. And so I then thought, I think she has diabetes. Are you sure I should give her a chocolate cake? And I was like, take her a chocolate cake. Okay. So I actually called her the night before to be sure she was going to be home because of all the help she was giving to other people. And I didn't tell her what I was bringing. It was Wednesday. And I said, I'm bringing you something. I want you to know this wasn't my idea. This is God's. So when you see it, I don't want you blaming it on me, okay? It's God's fault because he said this is what you needed. And so then I show up the next day and she's sitting in the chair. I knock on her door and I bring in this chocolate cake that I, made from scratch, wasn't a box mix or anything, made everything from scratch. And she's kind of sitting there. She didn't really say much. And so I asked her how things were going and what was going on with her husband and stuff. And then I put the chocolate cake down and I left. But later, she said to another friend that evening, she said, I couldn't even speak because I was sitting there grieving my mother. Her mother had died that year. And I was feeling so overwhelmed with all the things that were happening and wishing I could see my mom and my dad. And she said, I was especially sad on Thursday because it was my mother's birthday and her favorite cake was chocolate cake. So I'm saying to her, God sent you this. And I'm sure what she heard was how much God knows me and loves me, that he knew how special a chocolate cake would be on that particular day. And I don't know how you get thoughts like that without being in touch with the divine.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I mean, things that I've experienced, I believe with butterflies, it's kind of like, is the person that has passed okay? And a few years ago, a friend of mine, she was young, she was in her early 20s when she passed, and it was in the winter, and I saw a butterfly flying over the grave, and I was thinking, am I seeing something? They're not. And I mentioned it to him, and he was saying he thought that he was seeing things, that he was so happy that I confirmed it to him. My best friend since I'm like 5, and don't see him as much now since I moved to Poland, but we're just, the bond when you've somebody that it's always there. And his father passed just last week. And, I was talking to him and everything, and I was telling, he was actually saying a few things that had happened based on his father, that it was like confirming that he was still there. So I started telling him about the butterfly story, and a butterfly flew past him just as I was done.
Right then? Oh my goodness.
I was just saying, I just said to him, that's just confirming he's okay.
Yes. Yes. We're so connected. That's right. I love it.
No, beautiful, beautiful. Listen, Margaret, thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. So how can people, with the website, they'll find all the books? I'm assuming you might let people know where they'll find you.
Right, inhisfootsteps.com. And I have the 2 books that are finished and the 3rd one that's coming out. There'll be a link there when it's finished. And my social media is at the bottom of the page. So whatever social media you're interested in, but I'm mostly on Instagram and Facebook, I should say. I, will pop into some of the others, but mostly I'm there. And then there's a little newsletter pop-up box. It doesn't cover the whole screen, but it will pop up. And if you sign up for that, I will share some of the stories and some of the things I've been learning recently. And also when the book is coming out, so it's coming out shortly, is the audio of the 2nd book. So the 1st book and the audio is out. The 2nd book and the audio will shortly be out. And then one of these days, maybe that 3rd one, who knows what.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, Margaret, I love what you're doing. I love helping, the fact that you're helping other people, but you're also teaching all the family as well how important it is. And I know that it comes around. Life becomes beautiful when you're done, when it's not about you, it's about others. Just things line up. And
yes. Thanks, Roy. Yes.
Thank you very much, Margaret. That's all for the meditation podcast. You'll find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. As mentioned, we're on BitChute and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating. Really helps. Until next week, take care.